Hey there, Seahawks, it's Miss Adams, and in this video we're going to talk about absolute value functions. Alright, so the general form of an absolute value function is f of x equals a times the absolute value bars, and then inside the absolute value bars we have x minus h plus k. And h moves the vertex left and right, just like it has for all our other functions, and k moves the vertex up and down. A affects the slope, okay, so an absolute value parent function f of x equals the absolute value of x, and that graph of the parent function looks like the letter V. Okay, and remember your h, it always moves kind of the opposite of what makes sense. So when you move to the right, it's actually a minus, and when you move to the left, it's actually a plus inside the absolute value bars. All right, create a table of the values of f of x, graph the function, and tell the domain and range. So I'm going to plot some points so that I can draw the graph. So I'm going to pick some x values. And remember, we like to have some negatives, some positives, and we want to try to get 0 in there. So I'm going to plug those in for x. And when you do inside those absolute value bars, what it does is it takes anything that you get and it makes the answer positive. So if it's positive, it stays positive. And if it's negative, it becomes positive. So when I plug in -1 minus 3 is -4. The absolute value of -4 is 4. And 4 plus 2 is 6. When I plug in 0, 0 minus 3 is -3. The absolute value is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. And then I'm going to keep going. So I plug in 1. 1 minus 3, I get -2. Absolute value is 2. Plus 2 is 4. When I plug in 2, I end up with 3. When I plug in 3, I end up with 2. And when I plug in 4, I end up with 3. So I have ordered pairs, and I'm going to plot those points. Alright, so there's my points when I plot them, and it makes this V-shaped graph. So my domain for that would be all real numbers, and my range would be all y values that are greater than or equal to 2. On the next one, I'm going to use -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3 for my x values. When I plug in -2 plus 1 is -1. The absolute value of -1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. When I plug in -1, -1 plus 1 is 0. The absolute value of 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 2 is -2. When I plug in 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. The absolute value of 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus 2 is 0. And so then when I plug in the others, I get 2, 4, and 6. And then I can plot my points. Okay, and again, it makes that V-shaped graph. The domain for this one would be all real numbers because it's going to keep going to the left and keep going to the right. And then the range would be all y values that are greater than or equal to -2 because the lowest it goes on the y-axis is to -2. All right, write an equation for each absolute value function whose graph is shown. So now we have the graph, so I want to figure out what the slope is. So this one has a slope of 1, okay, and you only have to look at one piece to see what the slope is, and it's a positive absolute value function because it's opening up, and the vertex is at -1, 1. So it was shifted to the left 1 and up 1. So I'm going to put inside my absolute value bars x plus 1 because it went to the left 1. In front, I have a slope of +1, so you could put a +1 in front, but you don't need to. And then it also went up 1, so I'm going to have a +1 after the absolute values. The next one also has a slope of 1, but this time it's opening down, so it's a negative. And the vertex is at 2, 2, so it was shifted to the right 2 and up 2. So I'm going to have first a negative absolute value, okay, of x minus 2 because it went to the right 2, and then plus 2 in the back. All right, compare and contrast h of x and m of x. So h of x is the absolute value of x minus 1, and m of x is the piecewise function x minus 1 when x is less than 0, and -x minus 1 when x is greater than or equal to 0. So if you graphed these, they actually both turn out to be the same function, because an absolute value function is just a special type of piecewise function. So their graphs look the same. However, one is an absolute value function and one is a piecewise function, written as a piecewise function. And that's it.